Years ago, a woman named Song Mi-kyung came to the orphanage and noticed a sad little girl who had been adopted but was returned. Seeing the sadness in the child's eyes, she felt compassion and decided to adopt her. Now in the present, while Eun-bai seems cheerful on the outside, her school life is a living nightmare. She faces severe bullying from a group of classmates, led by Kang So-young, making her days at school unbearably cruel. One day at school, So-young and her friends corner her, throwing eggs, flour, and fish sauce over her, sarcastically calling it a birthday cake they're preparing for So-young. So-young is delighted by this twisted gesture and thanks her friends, calling them the best. Eun-bai feels deeply humiliated, but she remains silent, unable to stand up for herself. She cleans herself, put on her gym clothes and gets to the classroom, but the stench of fish sauce is overpowering. The entire class mocks her, and even the teacher scolds her, assuming she wears her gym clothes too often, and asks her to come to the office after class. At the office, the teacher questions why she keeps wearing gym clothes and if something is wrong, but Eun-bai, unable to share her pain, insists that everything is fine. As she leaves the office, the hallway is filled with girls laughing at her, ridiculing her as she walks by, adding to the overwhelming isolation she feels. Eun-bai ensures all the children at the orphanage eat well, carefully dividing their meals and encouraging them to eat their vegetables for a stronger body and immune system. Recently, Eun-bai falls ill. R.A. Jean, another girl at the orphanage who's very close to her, tends to her with warm compresses and insists she rest. Though Eun-bai tries to send her away, R.A. Jean stays by her side all night. Thankfully, Eun-bai's condition starts to improve. Eun-bai often receives gifts from a woman named Mi-kyung. Every time a package arrives, it brings a rare moment of happiness to her difficult life, lifting her spirits even if just for a little while. Meanwhile, in Seoul, Eun-bai has a twin sister, Go Eun-bai. Though they were separated at a young age because of Eun-bai's adoption and seems completely unaware of each other's existence, Eun-bai looks exactly like Eun-bai but leads a completely different life. She attends a prestigious school, where she is bold, confident, and quite popular. One day, Eun-bai's class goes on a trip to Tongyeon. Mi-kyung cares deeply for her daughter, Eun-bai, and lovingly packs her bag for the trip. While doing so, she notices a new shirt in her bag. Curious, she questions her about it, but Eun-bai dismisses her concern, casually saying that a friend gifted it to her. Everyone joins, except Han Ian, an exceptional swimmer who has a national competition on the same day. Eun-bai and Ian are close friends, and on the bus, she listens to the commentary of his race. When Ian wins, he is overjoyed, and so is Eun-bai, feeling proud of him. Her happiness is so noticeable that her best friend, Cha Son-ju, asks why she's smiling, but Eun-bai brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Meanwhile, when Eun-bai's class trip reaches Tongyeon, she steps out of the hotel and suddenly receives a message from a contact named Jong Soo-in. The message reads as just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it never happened. Shocked by this, she stares at the mobile and, in fear, drops it. As Song-ju approaches her from behind, asking if something's wrong, Eun-bai brushes her off, trying to hide her growing anxiety. Meanwhile, Eun-bai returns home after completing her 3 part-time jobs. She's shocked to find So-young and her gang already at the orphanage. They're there to fulfill some charity hours. Seeing them, Eun-bai feels both sad and scared. So-young and her friends make her do all the work, taunting her by saying the orphanage runs on their father's taxes. So-young's father is a prosecutor, and she even speaks to the orphanage head, promising to talk to her dad about increasing their donations. The head of the orphanage is delighted, repeatedly thanking So-young for her kindness. Later that night, Eun-bai sends So-young a message asking to meet outside. When they meet, So-young angrily asks how Eun-bai dared to call her out so late. Eun-bai immediately apologizes and brings up the donation talk from earlier, wondering if what So-young said was true. With a sarcastic smile, So-young mocks her, saying she was completely serious and even offers to call her dad to prove it. Eun-bai, though doubtful, hesitates. So-young asks for her phone as she left hers at home, so Eun-bai reluctantly agrees to believe her and gives her the phone. However, So-young starts sending threatening messages to all of their classmates, laughing as she does. She taunts Eun-bai, asking if she really thought she'd call her dad for her sake. Enraged, Eun-bai tries to grab her phone back, leading to a physical struggle between the two. Seeing a security camera nearby, So-young takes things further. She forces Eun-bai to hit her, even placing a stick in Eun-bai's hand to make it appear like she's being attacked. But suddenly, Eun-bai notices pipes above So-young about to fall. Without thinking, she throws herself on top of So-young, saving her from the falling pipes. Meanwhile, everyone is gathered at the hotel. Eun receives another message. Without a word, she quickly gets up and leaves the room. Her friend Shurjin notices and asks where she's going, but Eun ignores her and rushes outside. Shurjin follows her and sees a boy seemingly discussing something with Eun. Since the boy's back is turned, Shurjin can't see his face, but she feels deeply upset for Eun. Suddenly, Eun goes away. The boy starts following her. The next day, while sitting on a chairlift with the others, Shurjin notices a bruise on Eun neck, which alarms her. However, she says nothing, as Songju has been giving her a lot of attention lately, and she enjoys the attention too much to interrupt the moment. That same day, Eun makes a call to the House of Love orphanage, pretending to be a friend of Eun. She learns that Eun is not at the orphanage and is working part-time. Coincidentally, Eun is sitting in the very coffee shop where Eun is working, but the two don't see each other. Disappointed, she heads back to the hotel. Later, while using the washroom, the lights suddenly go out, and she senses someone outside. Fear takes over, and she screams, but soon after, she disappears. The entire group, along with their class teacher Mr. Kim, frantically searches for her, but she's nowhere to be found. Songju calls Mi-kyung, Eun mom, informing her about Eun disappearance. Mi-kyung rushes to Tonggyang in her car, and they review every security camera, but Eun is nowhere to be found. She is in tears, demands answers from Mr. Kim about her missing daughter, but he stands there in silence, unable to respond. Meanwhile, So-young's mother storms into the principal's office, demanding that Eun be expelled from the school. She believes that Eun is responsible for the pipes almost falling on So-young, claiming her daughter's life is in danger because of her. The teachers present ask Eun to apologize, but she is shocked that even they don't stand by her. Refusing to apologize for something she didn't do, Eun stands firm, determined not to admit guilt when she knows she's innocent. In response, the teachers expel her. Heartbroken, Eun leaves, while So-young, hearing the news, is filled with joy. That day is Eun last in school. So-young and her gang surround Eun in class, mocking her yet again. Despite her growing anger, Eun surprises So-young by saying she pities her. Furious, So-young loses control, and with her group, they drag Eun behind the curtains in the classroom. They begin unbuttoning her shirt and start recording a video, as Eun cries and begs them to stop. But So-young shows no mercy. The rest of the class silently watches the cruelty unfold, choosing to ignore Eun suffering. Deeply hurt and broken, Eun weeps uncontrollably. In her despair, she rips off her name badge and throws it to the ground outside the school. Overwhelmed by pain and despair, Eun heads to the sea. With no hope left, she takes a final breath and jumps into the water. After 10 days, Mi-kyung receives a call from the hospital, informing her that her daughter is there. However, it's actually Eun. She is suffering from amnesia and does not remember anything. Relieved to see her alive, Mi-kyung, believing her to be Eun, tells her she's her mother and her name is Eun. As they leave the hospital, So-young appears and starts pulling Eun hair. Confused, she starts screaming. Mi-kyung arrives, quickly pulling So-young off and warning her to stay away. Shocked, So-young apologizes when Mi-kyung reveals she is her mother. Meanwhile, Ian is filled with worry over Eun disappearance. Memories flood back from the night of his national swimming victory, when he had gone to find her in Tonggyang. He had intended to give her his award, but her cold mood made him hesitate. As he reflects, he remembers noticing a strange bruise on her neck, which sparked his concern. Yet, Eun had refused to explain, insisting he leave. Now, regret washes over him as he realizes he should have stayed and offered her the help she clearly needed that night. His heart aches with the thought that perhaps things could have been different if he had acted. Ian receives a call from Songju, telling him that Eun has been found and is at the hospital. He rushes there to meet her, but she, due to her amnesia, doesn't recognize Ian or Songju. Both are worried but try to reassure her, saying she'll remember soon. Eun, however, feels happy to have such good friends and a caring mom. At home, Mi-kyung shows her old pictures and tells her about being adopted. Eun feels a bit uneasy, but Mi-kyung assures her that she knew this already. Eun then asks to sleep with her, surprising Mi-kyung, as Eun had never done this before. It touches her heart. The next day at school, she meets Gong Tae-kwon, a rebellious student. She greets him, and he jokingly remarks that she must have truly lost her memory since she never acknowledged him before. She also remembers seeing him sneaking down from the hospital rooftop. When she enters the class, everyone greets her, and she greets them back, surprising her classmates, as Eun-bil was always distant and a rude brat. Later, the class goes out for a party at a restaurant, but a disagreement with the owner gets them all sent to the police station. Mr. Kim receives a call from the police and manages to get them released by paying a 1.2 million won bill. Furious, he scolds them but lets them go, telling them to meet at school the next day. While waiting at the bus stop, Eun-bil meets her classmate Young-eun and greets her. However, Young-eun tells her that they're not that close and barely talk, leaving Eun-bil confused. The next morning, Eun-bil wakes up at 5 a.m. for a walk, which surprises Ian, who notices her at the walk. He mentions that she never wakes up this early and always arrives at school just in time. Eun-bil, puzzled, says her eyes just open automatically at that hour. They walk together in the park. At school, Eun-bil struggles to unlock her locker and gives up. Suddenly, a teacher enters along with Young-eun and accuses her of stealing Young-eun's mother's jewelry set, claiming it's inside her locker. Shocked, Eun-bil insists her locker won't open. Gong Taekwang steps in, smashes the locker open with a chair, and the jewelry set is indeed found inside, leaving Eun-bil in disbelief. Eun-bil stands frozen in shock as she discovers the jewelry set in her locker. Just as she processes this unexpected gift, Mr. Kim arrives, eager to ask her about it. Before she can explain, Ian intervenes, pulling her outside and reassuring her that he believes she could never commit such an act, even if her memories are still hazy. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim investigates further and soon uncovers the truth. Young-eun planted the jewelry. When confronted, Young-eun opens up about her motivations, admitting that she often finds herself paying for outings with the other girls, who only invite her for her money. Her financial struggles led her to take this desperate step, revealing a side of her story that others had overlooked. Young-eun's mother is furious upon learning the truth and heads to the principal's office to expose the discrimination happening in the school. Eun-bil's friends reassure her, saying she was never like that. The next morning, during a walk with Ian, he mentions the neck injury she got during the trip, but she can't remember anything about it. At school, the teachers question the students to bring the truth to light. The classmates reveal that no one ever forced Young-eun to treat them, she always paid willingly, and they assumed she came from a wealthy family. Later in the canteen, some students mock Eun-bil. Song-ju steps in and pours water on their plate, reminding Eun-bil of her past life where So-young did the same with her. When Song-ju asks what's wrong, she brushes it off. That evening, as Eun-bil and her mom relax, Mi-kyung reflects on how different she is now, saying she prefers this version of her. She tells her that she will never leave her side and will always keep her close. The next day at school, Song-ju gets furious when she spots a white flower on Eun-bil's table. She confronts the class, and the class monitor, Min-jun, tells her that Young-eun was the first to arrive. Song-ju and the other students corner Young-eun in the library, questioning her. Young-eun admits that she feels like an outcast, saying the others only hang out with her when they need money, otherwise ignoring her. She overheard them talking about her as if she were just a walking wallet. The group feels ashamed and leaves. Later, when Young-eun is taking something from Eun-bil's locker, Eun-bil arrives and questions her. Young-eun is shocked when Eun-bil claims the locker is actually of Young-eun and that they switched lockers after Taekwang broke it. Though Young-eun suspects that she has regained her memory, it turns out Taekwang had told Eun-bil everything. Despite this, Young-eun remains rude, refusing to explain why she feels hurt. Eun-bil then goes to the swimming pool with Ian, who's happy that the truth has come out. While playing by the water, she accidentally falls in. Ian initially doesn't panic, assuming she knows how to swim, but when she starts drowning, he quickly jumps in to save her. As she falls into the water, memories flood back. She recalls So-young's torment that led her to jump into the sea and her twin sister, Eun-bil, who saved her life. Now, we learn that Eun-bil had known about her identical twin for a long time and had gone to Tongdeong to find her. When she visited the orphanage, she discovered the miserable life of Eun-bil and decided to help her. Eun-bil, now having regained her memory, is shocked and overwhelmed with the thought of where her sister might be. She feels deeply unsettled at home, and when she meets Mi-kyung, she hugs her tightly, breaking down in tears. Mi-kyung is confused and worried, unable to understand why Eun-bil is acting this way. She decides to live her sister's life until she found Eun-bil. The next day at school, the atmosphere is tense as teachers accuse Eun-bil of being a thief. Just when things seem awful, Young-eun arrives with Mr. Kim, stepping up to confess that it wasn't Eun-bil's fault. However, Eunbai takes a deep breath and admits she had said something hurtful to Young-eun, acknowledging her role and pushing her friend away. Young-eun's emotions surge as she realizes she had misunderstood Eunbai all along. Determined to start anew, she decides to transfer to a different school. Before she leaves behind cartoonish drawings in everyone's lockers. On Eunbai's drawing, she writes an emotional thank you note, expressing her gratitude for guiding her onto the right path. This gesture brings a smile to Eunbai's face, reminding her that even in difficult times, there's always room for understanding and friendship. At home, she looks through Eunbai's things and notices that her sister had been secretly sending her gifts all along under the name of Mi Kyung. She finds a matching shirt in the wardrobe, and the realization brings her to tears, remembering the life her sister had lived. The next morning, Mi Kyung finds a letter from Eunbai, where she reveals the truth that she is actually Eunbai and not Eunbai, and her memory has returned. She tells Mi Kyung that she's leaving for Tongyeong. Shocked and heartbroken, Mi Kyung rushes out to find her. Eunbai visits the hospital, her heart racing with questions. She asks the receptionist if any other drowning victims were admitted around the time she was saved. The receptionist informs her that no patients were registered, but a body was found in the sea a few days later. Stunned and shaken, Eunbai makes her way to the memorial, feeling an unsettling weight in her chest. At the memorial, Eunbai stands quietly, lost in thought, struggling with the revelation. Suddenly, Mi Kyung arrives, tears streaming down her face. She pleads with her, begging her to stop this cruel joke and insists that she is her daughter, Eunbai. Despite Eunbai's attempts to explain the situation, Mi Kyung remains in denial, unable to accept the truth that has shattered her world. The emotional confrontation leaves both women heartbroken, caught in a web of grief and confusion. Later, as Mi Kyung drives Eunbai back to the House of Love, Eunbai shares how her sister always protected her and secretly sent her gifts. She says her final goodbye and steps out of the car. Mi Kyung, flooded with memories of their time together, becomes emotional and rushes out of the car. She embraces Eunbai from behind, both of them overwhelmed with feelings. Mi Kyung tearfully pleads with Eunbai to stay, insisting that she is now her daughter, and she can't live without her. Moved by her words, Eunbai agrees, and they return to Seoul together. The next morning, when Eunbai tries to address Mi Kyung formally by calling her ma'am, Mi Kyung scolds her, telling her nothing will change, and she must continue calling her mom. She then reminds her to get ready for school. Before heading out, Eunbai lovingly serves Mi Kyung some homemade soup, which Mi Kyung enjoys, feeling touched by the gesture. Meanwhile, Ian is in the pool, pushing himself to practice swimming. He feels a sharp pain in his injured shoulder but chooses to keep it to himself, determined to improve. Later at home, he notices his father busy loading items into the car. Ian offers to help, but his father stops him, insisting that he should focus on his swimming and take care of his shoulder since it's essential for his future in the sport. The next day, Eunbai embarks on her new life as Eunbai, but she feels a sense of disconnect, struggling to fully embrace her new identity. Looking in the mirror, she contemplates calling herself Eunbai with pride. On the bus, Ian catches sight of her and decides to chase after it. He hops on, choosing a seat right behind her. As he starts texting her, she's taken aback when he reveals that he's right behind her, sparking a mix of surprise and excitement. At school, Eunbai's friend Shinji notices a change in her writing, which makes her anxious. She quickly leaves the classroom, making the excuse of headache. She heads to the infirmary, where she runs into Taekwon. He tells her that he didn't really talk to her before and mentions that he is the son of a famous celebrity, but his mom and he don't live together anymore, and it is the secret that nobody knows. Eunbai tries to explain her true identity, but Taekwon seems confused, and she leaves smiling. That night, Ian makes a heartfelt decision to give Eunbai his national medal, sending her a message to meet up. However, Eunbai has left her phone at home, unaware of his plans. While she's out, she unexpectedly bumps into Taekwon. He awkwardly apologizes for his earlier actions, and though hesitant, she accepts his apology. To break the tension, Taekwon offers to teach her how to use a hoverboard. As they laugh together, Ian watches from a distance, jealousy stirring inside him, though he tries his best to hide it. The next day at school, the unexpected unfolds as Mr. Kim introduces a new transfer student to the class. To Eunbai's utter shock, it's So Young. The fear in Eunbai's eyes is clear, and So Young is equally surprised to see her. When they meet in the bathroom, So Young apologizes for what happened at the hospital, believing that she is not Eunbai. She expresses her desire to be friends. Eunbai coldly responds that friends don't treat each other like that and walks away without answering her. Later at home, Eunbai browses the computer and finds Eunbai's diary, igniting her curiosity about her sister. She starts reading it and discovers a library book code. The next day, she goes to the library to find the book but doesn't have any luck. When she enters the classroom, she sees So-young trying to befriend Sonju, sitting in her chair. Feeling angered, she ignores So-young and refuses to engage with her. At the canteen, when So-young joins her group, Eunbai is uncomfortable and leaves. So-young starts to suspect that she might be the real Eunbai, as the fear is still evident in her eyes. So-young secretly takes pictures of Eunbai to verify who she is, but Taekwon catches her and exposes what she's doing. Furious, Eunbai confronts So-young, expressing her irritation about the situation. Just then, Sonju says that she should ask for permission before taking pictures. Eunbai's frustration builds, and she storms off, feeling overwhelmed by the chaos around her. On her way back, both Eunbai and Mr. Kim receive a text message from someone named Jong Soo-in, leaving them both surprised and concerned. After school, Eunbai meets a woman claiming to be a classmate's mom from her previous school. Just then, Mi-kyung arrives and quickly takes Eunbai away. The next day, during class, Taekwon is sad about how his classmate's mocking a celebrity who is getting married for the third time, unaware that she is actually his mother. Angered, Taekwon stands up and starts to fight with them, where both boys end up injured. As the teacher rushes in to break it up, Eunbai intervenes to stop Taekwon, but he accidentally pushes her away, injuring her in the process. When the teacher arrives, he breaks up the fight, and Taekwon realizes that Eunbai is hurt. He tries to get closer to check on her, but Ian holds him back. Later, Sonju tells Eunbai that he has changed a lot. The old one would never have behaved like this before. That night, as Eunbai steps out of her house, she spots Ian waiting outside. Startled, she tells him she's hungry and plans to grab something to eat. Ian offers to take her for noodles, reminiscing about how he often used to come here. The next day in class, So-young again tries to apologize to Eunbai, but she ignores her and walks away. In the gallery, a classmate tells her about the library, and Eunbai finally finds the book she's been searching for. As she reads through it, she discovers torn pages of her sister's diary that hint at her sister's struggles and her hallucinations about Soo-in, who had passed away the previous year. Later that evening, Ian heads to practice but feels pain in his shoulder. He brushes it off while his coach reprimands another student for not taking care of an injury. The coach emphasizes the importance of rehabilitation, warning that ignoring injuries could worsen them. All the students, including Ian, insist they're fine, despite Ian's discomfort. When Eunbai returns home, she sits quietly, reading more pages from Eunbai's diary. The words reveal her sister's deep distress and the emotional battles she faced alone. Concerned, she decides to find Ian, hoping he might have some insight. However, just as she approaches him, her phone buzzes with a message from Taekwon, warning her that he has her bag and she should come quickly if she needs it. Startled, she hesitates, but Ian notices her unease and instinctively offers to retrieve it for her. Before he leaves, he gives Taekwon a pointed look, urging him to maintain distance from Eunbai. Taekwon, visibly upset by Ian's possessiveness, remains silent, choosing not to engage in the argument. Instead, he watches them quietly, the tension between the three growing ever more palpable. While going through old photos at home, Eunbai stumbles upon a picture of Jean, triggering a flood of memories. Feeling the need to reconnect, she nervously picks up the phone and dials the number for the House of Love. As Jean answers, panic washes over Eunbai, and she quickly hangs up, overwhelmed by emotion. The weight of her past and the secrets she carries become too much to bear, and she breaks down in tears. Just then, Mi-kyung enters the room, immediately rushing to comfort her. She embraces Eunbai, providing the warmth and reassurance she so desperately needs in that moment. The following day at school, tension builds as So-young corners Eunbai on the rooftop. Her eyes narrow as she steps closer. She confidently reveals that she knows the truth, that she is actually Eunbai. So-young accuses her of pretending and threatens her. As tensions rise, So-young starts to raise her hand in anger, but Taekwon intervenes, stopping her and saying she shouldn't disturb his peace as he is sleeping nearby. Eunbai then opens up about her identical sister. She expresses how much she has struggled since her death and how that pain fuels her hatred towards So-young, who reminds her of her lost sister. She becomes very emotional during the confrontation with So-young, This starts feelings in Taekwang's heart for her. He can't help but watch her in class, noticing every little thing about her. After class, So-young calls a friend to ask if she can get some of Eun-bai's writing from the House of Love to analyze it, as she is determined that she is Eun-bai. Her friend agrees to help. Later that day, Songju receives an offer to model in an advertisement, something she has always dreamed of. Excited, her classmates congratulate her, celebrating her achievement. As Eun-bai leaves school, she notices Taekwang following her. She confronts him, surprised that he's trailing her. He gets flustered and claims he's just heading home, only to remember his house is in the opposite direction, causing him to awkwardly change course. Meanwhile, when Ian returns home, he sees his dad, Han Ki-chun, requesting to the landlord about getting some more days for paying rent. When Ian asks about this, Ki-chun brushes it off, telling him to just focus on swimming. Recalling that an ad company has been trying to hire him, Ian decides to give them a call, agreeing to work with them. He thinks that this might help his father. The next day, after school, Eun-bai helps her mother at the store. Later, her mom takes her shopping, making her feel more at home. That evening, Eun-bai and Ian head to a playground where he talks about the times they used to play there as kids. He digs out old toys from his bag, and they start playing together, enjoying the moment. As they tire out, they lie on the ground, and Ian shares that it is very cruel that she has no memory of him. He promises her that they will create new memories together. The next day, So-young takes Eun-bai's notebook and sneaks into the washroom to compare their handwriting. After retrieving some pages from the House of Love through her friend, she is shocked to see that their handwriting matches perfectly. It dawns on her that Eun-bai is indeed alive. Meanwhile, Songju has a shoot scheduled, and when she arrives, she finds out that Ian is also booked for the same shoot. Initially, she believes she will be the main model, but her excitement turns to embarrassment when she discovers her role is just as an extra. The director constantly tells her to smile, adding to her discomfort. In school, So-young confronts Eun-bai, claiming she now has proof that Eun-bai is not dead. So-young threatens to make her life miserable if she doesn't comply. Just then, Taekwang intervenes, warning So-young that if the truth comes out, her reputation will suffer even more. He recalls how a classmate had suffered because of So-young's actions, leading her to commit the unthinkable act. So-young is taken aback by his words. Taekwang walks Eun-bai home, and his feelings for her continue to grow. On the way back, he encounters Ian, who is headed in Eun-bai's direction. Ian asks Taekwang what he's doing there, recalling that he had told him not to meet Eun-bai, which had resulted in Eun-bai getting hurt that day. Taekwang brushes it off as an accident, remains silent. The following day, Ian and Taekwang play basketball together. Ian can't help but notice how Taekwang is consistently focused on Eun-bai. Meanwhile, Songju's advertisement is released, causing the entire class to tease her since she thought she would be the main model. Humiliated, she leaves the classroom. So-young approaches Songju afterward, offering to connect her with her uncle, who runs a famous ad company. She assures Songju that she can arrange a special interview for her. Songju is overjoyed and starts thanking So-young profusely, feeling grateful for the opportunity. That evening, Eun-bai is sitting at a restaurant with her friends when So-young arrives. As soon as So-young approaches their table, Eun-bai quickly stands up and leaves. Ian follows her, asking what's wrong. Eun-bai wants to explain but feels unable to. Ian reassures her that nothing should come between their friendship, but she remains emotional and walks away, leaving Ian frustrated. Meanwhile, So-young and Songju become close friends, which bothers Eun-bai. She tries to tell Songju that So-young isn't genuine and is only pretending to be friendly for her own benefit. So-young overhears this conversation, and then Eun-bai says to her that if anything happens to Songju, she won't spare her. At school, Ian ignores Eun-bai and walks past her, which deeply upsets her. She lowers her head and sits down in class. Just then, Taekwang arrives and tries to lighten the mood with humor. In a twist, we discover that Taekwang's father, Jae-ho, is the director of the school. He has been planning to send Taekwang abroad for studies because of the troubles he has been causing, and no one at school realizes he is the director's son. Initially, Taekwang agrees to the abroad studies, but now he reconsiders this after meeting with Eun-bai. That same day, a post circulates in class about a student who tortured a classmate at Tongyeong, leading her to commit suicide. The entire class immediately suspects So-young, as she is from that school. Furious, So-young heads to the roof to meet Taekwang and reveals that Eun-bai is actually Eun-bai and shows her the writing proof she has. Taekwang, hearing this, rushes to find Eun-bai, who is just arriving at school. He takes her along on the bus, addressing her by her real name Eun-bai. She is shocked, and then Taekwon tells her that there should be at least one person that calls her by her real name. The next morning, Ian walks past Eunbi, cold and distant. As she tries to ride her bike, the chain falls off. Desperate, she calls out to him, tears streaming down her face, pleading for him not to leave her. Ian stops in his tracks, hearing her cry, and rushes back to help fix the bike. Afterward, they share a quiet moment, drinking juice together before heading to school side by side, slowly mending their connection. Eunbi, preparing for another day at school, feels the weight of her lies crushing her spirit. Taekwon's words ring in her mind that just be yourself. With renewed resolve, she decides to let her hair down, stepping into class with confidence as though her true self is finally emerging. Later, in the washroom, she crosses paths with So-young, who tries to intimidate her as usual. But this time, Eunbi doesn't back down. She pulls So-young to the school theater, ready to confront her once and for all. When So-young continues her threats, Eunbi grabs her wrist firmly, twisting it with a fierce look in her eyes, warning her that she could retaliate for everything done to her sister. That day, the English teacher assigns a group project and divides the class. Ian and Taekwon end up in the same group. While working on the assignment, one of Eunbi's friend tells her about the call from the night she disappeared. So after going home, she requests the call records, examining them one by one. Only one number remains. She calls it and arranges to meet the caller at a park. This person turns out to be Eunbi's classmate. Eunbi asks about the call, and her classmate is surprised, revealing that they both received mysterious texts and were supposed to meet for information gathering. It turned out Eunbi thought the messages were coming for her, but they were both receiving the same ones. Their misunderstanding led to a fight, and Eunbi got hurt back then at the neck. Eunbi then messages Ian, and they head to a restaurant together. They eat, play games, and have fun, creating a light atmosphere. On their way back, Ian tells her that he likes this version of her better. When he spots a mark on her arm, he inquires about it. In a moment of vulnerability, she mentions that she fell while learning to ride a bike in 5th grade, causing Ian to be surprised, as he taught Eunbi to ride a bike in 4th grade. Eunbi falls silent, contemplating the connection. Ian then asks if she truly is Eunbi, which sends her into a panic. Eunbi fears revealing her identity. Just then he laughs it off, brushing off his inquiry. Later, as Eunbi returns home, she becomes emotional. Her mother expresses concern about starting anew somewhere else, suggesting a fresh start, which she doesn't resist. The idea of a new beginning hangs in the air, igniting both hope and anxiety within her. As Eunbi is in the library when she overhears So-young talking to someone about Songju's simple face and how she just needs a small role in an ad, suggesting she's not that beautiful. Confronting So-young, Eunbi expresses her frustration, but before the situation escalates, Ian arrives, and So-young quickly leaves. In class, Eunbi realizes her notebook is missing. Remembering that So-young might have taken it to match their handwriting, she announces it to the class. The monitor reveals he saw So-young with something, and when they search her bag, they find the notebook. So-young, embarrassed, makes an excuse about feeling unwell and leaves. During the sports period, So-young fakes an illness and doesn't show up. Eunbi tries to explain to Songju that So-young isn't a good person, but she dismisses her concerns. Later, when it's time to submit the English assignment, 3 groups experience laptop issues, and suspicion immediately falls on So-young since she was the last one in the classroom. Despite denying any involvement, she becomes the target of blame from the entire class, fueling her frustration. Meanwhile, Ian grows more anxious, questioning whether the girl he knows as Eunbi is hiding her true identity. Wanting answers, he invites her to a movie, and she agrees. While at a store, Eunbi spots a fluffy toy she seems to like. However, Ian remembers that the real Eunbi had a severe allergy to fur. This observation troubles him, as he struggles to reconcile how she could be so comfortable with the toy. On their way back, Taekwon sees them together and feels a surge of jealousy, sensing a deeper bond forming between them. Meanwhile, So-young has her father arrange for handwriting samples to be analyzed, and the results show a 95% match. Confident that she now has proof that Eunbi is still alive, So-young begins plotting to reveal the truth. The next day, while on the bus, Eunbi spots Ian. Overcome with emotion, tears begin to well up as she contemplates finally revealing the truth to him. At school, So-young approaches her with a smug expression, armed with the proof she believes will force Eunbi out. She threatens to expose her secret if she doesn't leave the school, and says that this would be best for them. But Eunbi, unwavering, refuses to back down. With a confident look, she throws the papers back at So-young, declaring she's not going anywhere until she puts an end to its era of manipulation. Then, she walks away confidently, leaving So-young stunned. Meanwhile, Ian, lost in his own thoughts, dives into his swimming practice, trying to clear his mind. His strokes grow more aggressive as he struggles with the idea that the girl he cherishes might not be who she says she is. His confusion intensifies, and just as he begins to focus, his coach arrives, scolding him for his lack of focus. Later, So-young, eager to shatter the facade, finally confronts Ian with all the details, confirming his worst fear. Eun-bai has been pretending to be Eun-bai all along. That night, Ian meets Eun-bai and insists she is Eun-bai, but she remains silent, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. Taekwon arrives, trying to pull Eun-bai away, but Ian grabs her hand, prompting Eun-bai to declare she needs to tell the truth. Taekwon, shocked, releases her hand, and Eun-bai opens up to Ian, explaining that she is Eun-bai, and Eun-bai'll drown while trying to save her. Ian becomes deeply depressed and seeks solace from Mi-kyung. He asks her about everything that happened, and she reassures him that she knows what's going on. Mi-kyung encourages him to be supportive and not let the truth affect him too much. Ian, still confused, struggles to figure out his next steps. At school, Taekwon meets Eun-bai and, seeing her sad mood, orders food to cheer her up. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim questions class monitor Min-ju about the laptop incident, but Min-ju denies any involvement. Mr. Kim warns him to come clean if he has any information. Min-ju, feeling the pressure, refuses to cooperate, raising Mr. Kim's suspicions about him. Sonju goes for an audition arranged by So-young, and her interview goes exceptionally well, with the judges seemingly impressed by her performance. Eun-bai books a ticket to Tongyeong and goes to Eun-bai's memorial with Ian's medal, which he had given her under the impression she was Eun-bai. That same day, Ian visits Eun-bai's memorial and, upon seeing the medal, starts to develop deeper feelings for Eun-bai. On the way back, Ian cuts himself and a little girl on the bus helps him with a bandage, reminding him of how Eun-bai once comforted him when he was crying. They both happen to see each other on different buses but don't speak. Their eyes express a deep emotional connection, tears going down. When Ian arrives home, he finds his father drinking. His father invites Ian to join, but Ian insists that he wants to wait until after his swimming competition in a few days, promising to celebrate his victory then. Eun-bai falls ill, but when Mi-kyung suggests taking a day off from school, she refuses, determined to attend. At school, So-young confronts her, claiming that she has sent proof to Ian. Eun-bai feels anger rise within her but manages to keep it in check, still intimidated by So-young. During class, her condition worsens, and she heads to the infirmary. Ian and Taekwon grow concerned for her health. Ian stays in his seat, while Taekwon goes to the infirmary and lies down on another bed, claiming he also feels unwell. After a while, Ian visits but leaves when he sees Eun-bai sleeping. Meanwhile, a new teacher, Young Min-young, takes an interest in Eun-bai, but her intentions are questionable. One day, as Eun-bai arrives at school, Taekwon pulls her into his car and takes her to a rooftop building, sharing that it's his escape whenever he's stressed. The view of the city lifts Eun-bai's spirits. The next day, as Ian heads to his swimming competition, So-young tells him that she was the one who shared the proof. She expects him to thank her, but Ian brushes her off in anger and boards the bus. So-young, furious, heads to school, where everyone stares at her strangely. Eun-bai's previous suicide post has gone viral on the college page, and as she enters the classroom, her classmates look at her with anger and pity. In a fit of rage, So-young messages Ian that she is going to reveal Eun-bai. Ian, that is just starting his swimming competition, stops it and runs to protect Eun-bai. On the way, he gets into a car accident, injuring his shoulder. In class, So-young announces that she has something important to share, revealing Eun-bai's certificates and ID cards. The class is shocked and confused about how this could be possible. Taekwon stands up, trying to silence So-young and give Eun-bai a chance to explain. Just then, Ian arrives. Taekwon and Ian confront So-young, revealing to the class that Eun-bai's twin sister, Eun-bai, took her own life because of So-young's actions. Shocked and speechless, So-young is left standing in the middle of the classroom, exposed. She is feeling guilty now. In the midst of the chaos, as Ian leaves the classroom, his injury due to the accident he faced coming to the class worsens, and he falls on the ground. He is rushed to the hospital, where doctors inform his father and coach that he won't be able to swim for at least a year. Both men are deeply worried about for the Ian and think about his future now. Ki-chun meets with Ian and tells her that he cannot do swimming for 1 year, assuring them that the year will pass quicker than they think. Ian's heart is broken when he hears this devastating news. He thinks that he is finished and now can never make comeback in swimming again. Eun-bai attempts to visit Ian at the hospital, but her entry is denied. Heartbroken, she returns the next day and finally gets a chance to see him. Ian, still struggling with his situation, confesses that he doesn't want people to pity him, which is why he refused to see anyone. Taekwon arrives shortly after, and together with Eun-bai, they insist that Ian needs to eat, despite his emotional state. Eun-bai visits the hospital the next day, and Ian asks her to go outside. She starts crying and steps out of the room to sit down. Taekwon arrives and, seeing her in tears, tries to comfort her. Eun-bai feels completely broken inside, and Taekwon, witnessing her pain, becomes even more depressed. At school, So-young confronts Eun-bai, threatening to cut her off from all her friends one by one. Song-ju overhears this and starts to see So-young's true nature. When Song-ju goes to the canteen, she expects to sit with So-young, but instead chooses to sit with Eun-bai, which angers So-young. Eun-bai visits the hospital again, but Ian doesn't meet her. Instead, she calls out to him from outside of his room, saying if she had been honest from the start, everything happening right now would have happened earlier. She doesn't want to end things like this. So-young invites Song-ju to a restaurant, trying to manipulate her by promising to arrange a shoot with her uncle. However, Song-ju refuses and leaves abruptly, infuriating So-young. Back home, So-young discusses transferring Eun-bai with her mom. Her mom assures her that she will speak to the school director about it. The next day, So-young's mom meets with the director, using her husband's influence to push for Eun-bai's transfer, and the director agrees. Ian returns to school and finds it hard to eat in the canteen. Taekwon helps him out, but Ian feels upset and leaves without eating. The following day, the director calls a police officer to investigate a case. He questions about the student, Suin's death from last year, noting that Eun-bai was the first to see the body. This raises concerns, prompting the director to form a disciplinary committee. Meanwhile, new teacher Min-young discovers old case files in the director's office and feels optimistic, calling her mom to tell her they are getting closer to their goal. Mr. Kim urges the director not to expel Eun-bai, but the director insists his decision is final. When Mr. Kim asks if there's any connection between Eun-bai and the past incident, the director, slightly taken aback, dismisses her concerns, further raising Mr. Kim's suspicions. Mi-kyung goes to school and objects to her daughter's transfer, threatening to take legal action against the school for expelling her without cause. A disciplinary committee is formed, and the announcement shocks all the students. Taekwon speaks to his father, pleading for them not to take drastic actions, but his father insists it's for Taekwon's good to stay away from Eun-bai. Taekwon firmly tells his father to stop monitoring him. The next day, So-young informs Eun-bai that she will soon be expelled from the school. This upsets her, but just then, her mother arrives and takes her away. Mr. Kim announces in class that the laptop case has been resolved. The entire class turns against So-young, expecting her to apologize. However, Min-jun, the class monitor, takes the initiative and apologizes that he is actually the culprit and to earn good grades he had done that. One teacher assigns Min-jun a punishment of organizing books in the library. While doing so, the books fall, and Eun-bai is there to help. Min-jun admits he didn't expect her to assist him since they have been in the same class for a long time, yet she never spoke to her. He recalls seeing Eun-bai scream while leaving the classroom last year, creating further confusion for Eun-bai as she searches for the truth. After school, Eun-bai waits outside Ian's house, but he ignores her and goes inside, leaving her feeling rejected. After a while, she heads home, unaware that Ian is watching her from the rooftop. Inside the house, Mi-kyung talks to Eun-bai, expressing concern that being around the same classmate who tortured her to suicide would be torment. She suggests transferring Eun-bai to another school for a fresh start. Eun-bai agrees but asks for some time to complete her unfinished business. Mi-kyung reluctantly accepts this request. Eun-bai waits outside Ian's house when Ki-chun arrives and invites her inside. Ian is already there, and they share a meal together. Ki-chun senses some tension between them. As he prepares to say goodbye, he asks Eun-bai to support Ian, who he thinks is feeling very depressed. She reassures him that she will be there for Ian. Just then, Ian joins them, and Ki-chun orders him to drop Eun-bai off at home. Although Ian initially declines the offer, He reluctantly agrees after some persuasion. The next day, Ian stands by the swimming pool when Eunbai asks him why he quit therapy. He remains silent, offering no explanation, and walks away. As Eunbai heads home, she receives another message from Suin, instructing her to come to the classroom. Curious and anxious, she rushes there but finds the room empty, leaving her feeling scared. Suddenly, a woman with her face hidden appears and tells Eunbai that she will soon feel the same loneliness that Suin experienced. Eunbai becomes frightened as the woman locks the classroom door and escapes. Desperately, Eunbai knocks and shouts for help, but no one responds. When she tries to call someone, her phone dies due to a dead battery. Just then, Mr. Kim arrives and rescues her, bringing her outside. Mr. Kim suggests they should talk tomorrow in his office about this, and they run into Ian. Noticing Eunbai's pale face, he becomes concerned. Mr. Kim informs him of the situation, advising him to take Eunbai home safely. Ian agrees. Meanwhile, Taekwon tries to call Eunbai repeatedly, but her phone is off. Worried, he decides to go to her house, where he finds Eunbai with Ian. Seeing her distressed face adds to his concern. Eunbai steps away, leaving the two of them to talk. The next day, Eunbai goes to Mr. Kim's office to explain everything. She tells him how she received unsettling messages from Suin, instructing her to come to the classroom. Mr. Kim listens intently, his expression growing more worried with each word. He immediately checks the CCTV footage, and to his shock, he realizes that the woman seen in the classroom is actually Mississippi Min-young and she is Suin's older sister. Later, during Min-young's lecture in class, Eunbai becomes increasingly uneasy. The woman's voice matches the one she heard the previous night, stirring confusion and fear. Taekwon approaches Eunbai, asking more about the details surrounding Suin's case. When Min-young casually taps Eunbai on the shoulder, she recoils in fear, confirming her suspicions. This was the same woman who had locked her in the classroom. That evening, Min-young invites Mr. Kim to a restaurant for a private conversation. There, he opens up about a past incident involving a student who had died during his class. He explains with a heavy heart that his lack of attention contributed to the student's tragic death, and he feels responsible. As they reflect on the past, Mr. Kim vows to report Suin's death to the police, feeling the weight of his previous mistakes. The following day, Eunbai confronts Min-young at school. They step aside into a quiet area, where Min-young reveals a painful truth. She explains that her sister Suin had been eager to reconnect with an old friend from a previous school, only to end up feeling isolated and bullied. The bullying led to Suin's deep suffering and eventual demise. She implies that if anyone had shown her real care or attention, Suin might still be alive. Just then, Mr. Kim arrives and reveals that the real reason behind everything lies with him. He admits he should have inquired about Suin sooner and tells Min-young to speak up if she has anything to say. The next day, a post goes viral, reopening Suin's case and highlighting accusations against the school regarding her death during class. The media becomes active, but the school remains tight-lipped about everything. The next day, Eunbai messages Ian, asking him to treat her like he used to for just one day. He agrees, and they spend the day together, having fun. Eunbai reflects on how, if she had a friend like him back then, she might never have felt the need to take her own life. When Ian drops her off at the bus stop, she receives a message from him expressing his confusion about her behavior, indicating he might have misunderstood her intentions. That night, Taekwon visits Eunbai's home and shares his feelings with her. They both become emotional, realizing how much Eunbai means to him. The next day, the disciplinary committee forces Eunbai to transfer to another school. Mi-kyung argues that she doesn't want to be part of a school that practices discrimination and pressures students into transfers. While Mi-kyung is packing her things at home, the doorbell rings. When she opens the door, she's shocked to see the real Eunbai step inside. Overcome with emotion, Mi-kyung starts crying, asking where she's been all this time. Eunbai explains that several years ago, when she was up for adoption, she had actually adopted Eunbai, but she came by mistake. She wanted to help her after learning about her struggles. As Eunbai shares her story, she reveals that when she went to meet Eunbai, she found out that she was being tortured. Angered by this, Eunbai rushes to protect her. At the hospital, she discovered that Eunbai had lost her memories, so Eunbai stayed by her side, offering support. Both sisters are happy to be reunited after all this time. The next day, Eunbai goes to school and feels happy to see Songju and her friends after so long time. They comment that it seems like her memory is returning, but she brushes off their remarks. However, when she encounters So-young, her anger boils over. She confidently confronts So-young, revealing that she knows everything about the bullying So-young subjected her sister to. Just as she's about to slap So-young, she says that her hands might become dirty touching her. When Taekwon meets Eun-bile, he feels a bit strange at first but soon realizes she's genuinely Eun-bile. Concerned about Eun-bile, he informs her that he's heading back to Tongyeon for a few days, and he quickly leaves. At the orphanage, everyone is thrilled and emotional to see Eun-bile again. She is especially happy to reunite with them. Later, Taekwon arrives, and Eun-bile tells him how joyful she feels now. She says him to go now, but Taekwon explains that the last bus has already left, so he has to sleep at the orphanage. That night, when Eun-bile meets Ian, she reveals that she is the real Eun-bile. Ian is shocked and angry, causing him to walk away in frustration. The next day, Eun-bile meets Mr. Kim and informs him that she is ready to tell everything. She expresses her determination to put an end to the silence once and for all. At school, Eun-bile visits Ian to apologize again, but So-young shows up as well, realizing that Eun-bile is actually back. So-young tells Eun-bile how Ian went to great lengths to protect Eun-bile, even injuring himself in the process. So-young, about to slap her, is stopped by Eun-bile, who pushes her back. Meanwhile, in Tongyeon, Taekwon wakes up early and starts playing with the orphan children. Seeing this brings a smile to Eun-bile's face, and she joins in. She tells Taekwon that now he should go back to Seoul, but Taekwon insists that he will wait for her there. Eun-bile feels torn, unsure whether to stay with the orphans or head to Seoul. Later, as Eun-bile visits a memorial for herself, there she sees a classmate from her previous school who confesses that she had placed her name badge near a dead body by the sea. This memory makes the class fellow feel ashamed, as she realizes she did that to teach So-young the lesson. Overwhelmed with emotion, she starts to cry, and Eun-bile embraces her for comfort. The next day, Eun-bile gazes at Ian's medal, lost in thought about him, while Ian himself reflects on her as well. Mr. Kim decides to turn himself into the police and heads to the station. He resigns from the school, advising the director that it's best for everyone involved to surrender as well. He worries about Taekwon, hoping he won't be too affected if he learns the truth. In school, Eun-bile overhears So-young talking to an old friend about throwing a torturing welcome party for Eun-bile when she arrives in Tongyeon. Furious, Eun-bile snatches the phone from So-young's hand and throws it down, breaking it. She warns So-young that if she even thinks about doing any harm to his sister, she will destroy her life. Later, Taekwon meets Eun-bile and asks her what she knows about Soo-in's case. She reveals that the initial autopsy report listed the time of death as between 4 to 5 p.m., coinciding with Mr. Kim's class, while the official report later changed it to 6 to 7 p.m. This makes Taekwon suspicious that his father, Jae-ho, might have tampered with the autopsy report to protect the school's reputation. Taekwon finds the original autopsy report at home and decides to confront Jae-ho before going to the police. He expresses his deep hatred towards him but struggles to file a complaint. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jae-ho decides to turn himself into the police the next day. Witnessing his father's surrender deeply depresses Taekwon, and his health worsens. When Eun-bile calls him, he suddenly faints while speaking. Eun-bile rushes him to the hospital, and during the chaos, she uses his phone to call his mother. His mom, a famous celebrity who has been separated from Jae-ho, arrives at the hospital in a panic upon seeing Taekwon in such a state. She turns to Eun-bile, believing she must be one of Taekwon's close friends, and expresses her concern. Eun-bile visits Soo-in's sister, Min-young, feeling immense guilt over what happened to Soo-in. While looking through Soo-in's pictures and blog posts, she becomes emotional, realizing that Soo-in considered her a best friend, yet she failed to protect her. Meanwhile, Min-young also cries and comforts Eun-bile, sharing in her sorrow. The next day, Eun-bile meets Taekwon and hands him a parcel from his mom, which she received during her hospital visit. Inside, Taekwon finds a tie. He expresses Eun-bile his feelings more openly this time, even kissing her on the cheek. Eun-bile is shocked and taken aback, while Ian watches from the side, equally surprised. Taekwon, noticing her reaction, playfully warns Eun-bile that she can hit him, but she silently leaves without saying anything. The following day at school, Ian warns Taekwon to stay away from Eun-bile. Later, Eun-bile meets Taekwon and tells him that she doesn't deserve to be with his sister. Taekwon runs into Eun-bile and apologizes for the previous night, but Eun-bile reassures him that she has forgotten about it, and she starts blushing. When Taekwon makes fun of her, she quickly walks away, flustered. So-young, while getting her phone repaired, remembers that there's a video of Eun-bile on it. She asks the shopkeeper to recover the data, who warns her that only 70% might be recovered once the phone is fixed. It seems like she do have the video in the phone. Meanwhile, as Ian heads home, he overhears someone being rude to his father and confronts the man, leading to a fight that ends up at the police station. While at the station, he sees Taekwon talking to an officer who came to see his father but didn't have the courage to approach him. Ian realizes that Jae-ho was likely his father. Later, Ian's father, recognizing him by his school uniform, takes him home and offers him a meal. Taekwon, watching the scene, feels a pang of jealousy and depression as he notices the affection between Ian and his father. When Ian checks on Taekwon, he asks if he's okay, to which Taekwon responds that he is just fine, masking his true feelings. Taekwon finally gathers the courage to meet his father, Jae-ho. He tells him that he's doing better now and isn't causing trouble anymore. Jae-ho feels relieved and admits that he hasn't given Taekwon enough time, acknowledging that their strained relationship is due to his own shortcomings. On his way home, Taekwon feels emotional and begins to cry, missing his dad deeply. The next day at school is Mr. Kim's last day, and he bids farewell to the students. The children express their goodbyes. He is visibly touched by their affection. Later, Ian calls Eun-byeol outside and confesses that he had a crush on her for the past 10 years but now wants to move on and close the chapter of his life. Despite their good friendship, Eun-byeol acknowledges that she might regret this decision years later, but she needs to focus on her own goals. On the way back, Ian sees Eun-bye sitting on the bus and joins her. He shares that he started swimming practice because of her encouragement and expresses his feelings for her, even giving her a hug. The next day, Eun-bye returns to school to say goodbye to her friends one last time. So-young, realizing that, calls Eun-byeol, threatening to make Eun-bye video go viral if she doesn't come to school right now. Eun-byeol becomes furious and heads straight to the school. As Eun-bye approaches the announcement table to speak, Eun-byeol arrives. Everyone in the class too is surprised to see them. So-young tries to speak but Eun-byeol pulls her away, leading her outside. Eun-bye addresses the class, apologizing for everything and shares her truth. Confused students struggle to understand the situation as Eun-bye continues her heartfelt explanation. On the other hand, Eun-byeol asks So-young about the video and records her confession that she made it herself. Eun-byeol then threatens So-young, saying that if the video releases, she will turn over the recording of their conversation to the police. So-young attempts to grab her phone, but Eun-byeol pushes her aside, asserting her stance. The next day, Taekwon feels sad seeing Eun-bye with Ian, but he resolves to sacrifice his feelings for her happiness. Eun-byeol meets with her friends, clearing the air and apologizing for everything that happened. Taekwon joins Eun-bye's prep classes, which surprises Ian and adds tension between them. Meanwhile, Mi-kyung gathers her daughters and tells them that they will be moving to another city to start a new life. Eun-bye insists she will go alone, promising to return when Eun-byeol goes abroad for her studies. Eun-byeol shares this plan with her friends and Taekwon, hoping to reassure them. Later, Taekwon takes Eun-bye to a restaurant, asking her why she is leaving. She expresses her apologies, explaining that she doesn't feel the same way about him as he does for her. Taekwon is deeply affected by her words but maintains his composure, offering her well wishes as she embarks on this new chapter of her life. When So-young's father finds out about everything, he becomes extremely angry because his nomination gets cancelled because of her. So-young is terrified of his reaction, as he scolds her harshly. The next day, she decides to meet Eun-bye. When Eun-bye arrives, So-young tells her she won't apologize, but she admits that she shouldn't have treated her that way. Eun-bye reassures her that she's still alive, and perhaps hearing this gives So-young some comfort. Meanwhile, Taekwon joins Mr. Kim's classes and begins to develop a strong bond with him. He starts to see Mr. Kim as a big brother figure, which helps him cope with his feelings and the challenges he faces. Taekwon meets Eun-bye and tells her that he will always have feelings for her, but if she doesn't feel the same way, it's not a problem for him. He accepts the situation, showing his maturity. At home, Eun-byeol confides in Eun-bye, explaining that there's nothing romantic between her and Ian. However, she acknowledges that Ian has feelings for her, and Eun-byeol realizes she needs to accept this truth and navigate her own feelings as well. The conversation deepens their understanding of each other's emotions and strengthens their friendship. The next day, Eun-bye meets Ian and expresses her desire to discover new things, mentioning that she will return later. On the day of Eun-bye's first class at her new school, Ian has his swimming competition. He starts off strong, but during the event, he stopped due to his injury. He pauses for a moment, recalling Eunbai's encouraging words, which motivates him to push through the pain and finish the race. As he completes his performance, the crowd erupts in cheers, chanting his name. Eunbai, excited and supportive, attends the competition to cheer him on, feeling proud to witness his determination. After some months, a new student transfers to the school. Everyone is puzzled, wondering if she is Eunbai or Eunbail, but she confirms she is Eunbai. She messages Taekwon and invites him to meet on the rooftop, telling him that he is a great friend. Meanwhile, Sonju becomes a successful model, and the class monitor, Min-jun, starts to excel in both studies and sports. Eunbai sees Ian on the bus and excitedly runs over to sit right behind him. She surprises him by showing him the medal he had given her earlier, saying it was a reminder that he would recognize her when she returned. They both share a joyful moment, reflecting on their friendship. Eunbai and Eunbail have found their place in the world, and they are supported by the friends who love them. The season wraps up with a sense of hope and renewal as the characters embrace their new beginnings together.